Hi, this is Paul Hoyt, your host and CEO of Ascending Harvest with my best buddy, friend, business partner, resident genius, Shane McKenna, here today to talk about Ascending Harvest and the progress that we are making on this wonderful project to feed, we hope, we envision millions of families in developing countries and refugee camps all around the world. I was thinking about that today, Shane, about what a blessing it is to have this opportunity. It's like somebody came up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, Paul, how would you like to be at the head of a company or in the leadership position of a company that has an opportunity to feed millions of hungry children all around the world?" I mean, what would I say? What would somebody say? What would you say if you're listening to this, if somebody came up and tapped you on the shoulder and gave you that opportunity? I think you'd say what I said, which is, hey, I'm all in. I'm all in. This seems like the culmination of 50 years of business experience and 50 years of working on myself, becoming the type of person that can effectively participate in the leadership of a company like this. So I feel very, very blessed today with this opportunity and blessed to work with Shane to make this happen. And I have to give Shane the credit. It's his passion that I think really enabled this, and his passion that, helped me discover my passion for this project too. So say hello to the folks, Shane.
Hello, everyone. And I'd like to share a little bit of backstory. So, I've been sharing things on social media for a while about my invention and especially when I invented intelligent grow media and when I invented the pump that functions off of air. I've shared that on social media and it got attention. And Paul and I, we've known each other going on about 4 years now. And about every, 4 to 6 months, Paul would call me up and say, "Hey, Shane, what are you working on? I'd like to work with you on something someday." And it was about a year and a half ago when that phone call turned into Paul calling me and saying, "Shane, I don't think you're hearing me. I want to work with you. So what are you working on? And let's get this thing going." And so Paul took me out of the intellectual development and the what if, and through his leadership and his guidance and his business genius, we have developed a game plan and a company that has the ability to take the technology to the world. So without Paul badgering me with his phone calls and saying, "Shane, I want to work with you," this wouldn't be happening right now.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. So somewhere along the line, I think we both got tapped on the shoulder in some way and said, go do this thing. And now all of you, by the way, listening to this recording, have an opportunity to be a part of our team, have an opportunity to do this thing with us. And in fact, we can't do it without you and your support. So do us a favor, go to ascendingharvest.com, sign up for our list, like us on the Facebook page, share these recordings of these Zoomcasts, share news of this project with your social media networks and your email lists so that we can build the community that we need to raise the funds that we need to take this project to the next level. Our crowdfunding campaign is scheduled to start mid-September. We got it narrowed down to a couple of dates. The only thing we're waiting on right now is to confirm a venue for a launch party in Salt Lake City. And when we confirm that venue, we're going to announce it to the world, and we're going to start, a lot of momentum heading towards the launch of our crowdfunding campaign, probably about the third week in September or so. So stay tuned. Sign up for our list so that you won't miss it, so that you can be there on day one and share the information about this, in the days leading up to the campaign and in the first few days of the campaign, when it's really, really essential and critical that we get in a fair amount of contributions to that. So come join us on this winning team. Come join us in our passion to help feed millions of hungry people, millions of hungry children all around the world.
Hey, I've seen that Michael has joined us on the live broadcast. Michael, I know from reading his post, is someone who's passionate about helping to move the world in a direction that's more sustainable and more, I would say, I don't want to speak too much for Michael, but I think he is someone who resonates with the fact that we're empowering individuals. So
Awesome.
welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It's really great to have people. And if you have any questions during the course of this, please type them in or comments. We will glance over every once in a while at our Facebook screen and take our eyes away from the camera and interact with you as best we possibly can. So that goes for anybody else that's joining us as well. And we will love to have this being interactive. Today, we're going to talk about some more about the magic of plants. In yesterday's Zoomcast, we talked about, what I call the magic of plants, about how plants consume resources like water, mineral, and nutrients, and consume oxygen, or rather atmosphere, and turn what's their available resources into biomass or into food, into their roots and their leaves and their stems and the tree trunks and turn it into biomass, a lot of which feeds us, which is really remarkable. So we talked about hydroponics yesterday and aeroponics and how we deliver oxygen to the roots of the plants and how we very effectively deliver water, mineral, and nutrients to the roots of the plants through our intelligent grow media. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some more magic of plants. We're going to talk about photosynthesis. And I have to confess, I knew zip about photosynthesis until just a few weeks ago, and learned a lot just in the last 24 hours by going online and just looking up the term and seeing what it means. And it's just, it's amazing. It's just one of those miracles of life. I want to read one quote that came out of the Wikipedia entry for photosynthesis to you, because I think it's really significant. So listen up. Photosynthesis is largely responsible for producing and maintaining the oxygen content of the Earth's atmosphere and supplies all of the organic compounds and most of the energy necessary for life on Earth. Photosynthesis supplies all of the organic compounds and most of the energy necessary for life on Earth. I can't imagine anything more magical than photosynthesis and the way plants take this light energy and turn it into food we eat and the oxygen we breathe. Just freaking amazing. And Shane, you've studied this for a long time. I'm going to let you take over here for at least a few minutes and just kind of give an overview of photosynthesis and what it is for the people who are listening today.
All right. Well, I'm not going to delve super deep into the science because photosynthesis is actually extremely complicated, and there's literally hundreds of compounds and energy transfer and things going on inside the plant that is the result of photosynthesis. So I'm just going to keep it to a really simple level. Essentially, all of the life on Earth is supported by the sun. So not only does the sun warm our planet and give us a favorable environment for life to exist, but plants take that sunlight and they absorb that sunlight into the tops of the leaves. And there's an element in the cells in the top of the leaf that contains chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is the green stuff that makes leaves green, and so plants green. And that chlorophyll absorbs those packets of light, which are called photons. Those packets of light are absorbed into the chlorophyll cells, or not the chlorophyll cells, but the cells that contain the chlorophyll. And then they take the electron energy of that sunlight And through a chemical conversion, they combine water and carbon dioxide, and they strip the hydrogen off of the water molecule, and they take that hydrogen molecule, and they through a very complex process, they convert that hydrogen molecule into sugar or carbohydrates. And that sugar and carbohydrates is transported down to the roots of the plant. And this is really interesting. A lot of people don't know this, but the roots store that sugar. And if you want to have a direct experience with the sugars that are stored in that root, eat a carrot. A carrot is a storage part of the root of the carrot plant that stores those carbohydrates and those sugars and builds a large root, which is known as a carrot. And so you can enjoy the sugar that's created by photosynthesis just by eating a carrot. And those sugars are stored in the plant during the day when the plant is making the sugars. The glucose and starches are stored in the roots of the plant. And then at night, those sugars travel to the outermost extremities of the plant, and they cause the plant to grow. Now, some plants work a little bit differently, but for most of the plants that we eat as a whole plant, like lettuce and celery and carrots and things like that, that's how it's working. In this process, the oxygen that's stripped, the hydrogen that's stripped off of the water molecule leaves us with two oxygen atoms. Those oxygen atoms are then expelled by the plant. They're actually a byproduct of the process that the plant doesn't want. And so it expels this oxygen that sustains us because we breathe that oxygen and use it to fuel our cells. So we have this beautiful, perfectly symbiotic system where animals and decaying materials create carbon dioxide, and where plants take that carbon dioxide and turn it into plant material and turn it into oxygen for us to breathe. So we have this perfectly symbiotic, balanced system where plants and animals and bacteria and literally all life on this planet exist in equilibrium based upon that process. And photosynthesis is at the very root and fundamental element of that process.
That was really quite a beautiful explanation. And pardon the interruptions there, folks. I forgot to mute my phone. So that was like all off the top of your head. Here I am studying like crazy. And how long have you kind of known about photosynthesis and understood this magical process, Shane?
Well, I'm a science geek. I always have been. So, I started learning about photosynthesis, way back in school. And, it's one of those things that if you're a science geek, you contemplate from time to time. So, every once in a while I brush up on it. And also when you're developing an agricultural product, you need to at least have a cursory understanding of how plants work. And so a lot of my time and a lot of my life experience has evolved around how do plants work? How do they get what they need? How can I develop systems that help to mother that nature so that we can optimize these things and through natural processes achieve better performance in our food production. So that's a passion of mine, is helping to increase that efficiency, and part of that is understanding how plants work.
Wow. I think that's really fascinating. Another fascinating thing is that we humans here have really only known this for about 250 years or so. Even though we've been farming for thousands of years, we really didn't understand the nature of photosynthesis, except for the last couple of hundred years. I found it amusing that I read, in Wikipedia, entry on photosynthesis about how a scientist first discovered the whole process. And he was measuring the weight of the soil that was supporting some of the plants that he was growing, believing that, as the plants grew, that the weight of the soil would be reduced, that somehow the plants were consuming the soil and turning that soil into stems and roots and leaves and that sort of stuff, which makes perfect sense. You see something of a potted plant, and the plant grows, and the soil is, you would expect the soil or the weight of the soil to be reduced, but that's not what happened. So he discovered that instead of consuming the soil, the plants were actually converting carbon dioxide into carbon, into carbohydrates, and that's the magic of photosynthesis. And it's really only been the last couple of hundred years or 150 years that we've really begun to understand how that whole thing works. I just find that amazing. The other real amazing thing to me, and maybe this is like something turning on in my head that should have been turned on years ago, was the fact that it's not about the heat. It's really not about the heat energy that comes from sunlight that participates in the photosynthetic process. It's actually light waves. It's the waves of light. It's the energy that's coming into the plant on these different types of light waves that the proteins, the molecules in the plant itself are responding to particular frequencies of light and working their magic to take these resources and using light energy to do this chemical transformation. I found that quite fascinating.
Yeah, that's true. So plants love the red spectrum of light and some of the blue spectrum of light. And the reason plants are green is because they bounce off most of the green spectrum of light and most of the yellow spectrum of light. So the reason we see the green is because that's the light that the plants are not absorbing.
Wow. That's very interesting. So when we think about light coming through, the primary colors of light are red, green, and blue. So they take the red and the blue. They don't share the green or don't consume the green, and so it bounces off, and that's what we see, right?
Right.
That's
right.
Wow.
And if you think about the plant, if we create an analog of what these different parts of the plants are, the leaf is like a solar panel. So the leaf is absorbing that light and that energy, and it's converting it. And then the stems are the pipelines and the structural members of the plant. And then the roots are the foundation and the storage tanks. So having a system that properly supports the roots and gives the roots everything that they need so that they're healthy, that they're aerated, so that they can have all the water and nutrient delivered to them that the plant needs to carry on this photosynthesis process and convert this energy. All of those elements need to be in that perfect soil mixture. And that's what we've done with Ascending Harvest with our technology. Intelligent Grow Media allows us to have that delivery mechanism of the water and nutrients, and the fact that we have the only hydroponic system that is hybridized by combining it with soil. So not only do we get that perfect water and air and nutrient delivery to the roots, we also get all the minerals that are in the soil, and something we'll talk about in another episode, but that beneficial fungus that's in the soil that unlocks those minerals and delivers them to the roots of the plant so that the plant gets optimal uptake of all of the elements that it needs, not only the light from placing the plant in the sun, but also that that water, nutrient, minerals, and air that's so important to the root zone. So what I've done is studied this process of what plants need and then invented a media that allows us to deliver that to the plant in an optimal way so that the plant gets the best support available and therefore can achieve its best performance in both growth and food production.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. I just love that. If you're listening to this, I'm encouraging you to do what I'm going to do, which is to play that back. That last couple of minutes that talks about the functions of roots and how our intelligent grow media and our hydroponics systems, actually facilitate the properties of the roots and the functions of the roots like no other system does. This advanced technology is really quite an innovation in growing science and growing systems, which is pretty darned amazing. I just love that. I have a follow-up question, a bonus question for 10 points for you, Shane. I know that plants can get too little sunlight because every once in a while I look around at a house plant that I've got and realize that, wow, that thing hasn't been in the sun for a while, so I take it and set it out on the patio and let it get, another few doses of sunlight and it perks back up a little bit. Is it possible for a plant to get too much sunlight?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some plants that take up a specific niche in nature. And so we have plants that are known as understory plants. And what that means is these are the plants that grow under the trees and under the bushes. And those plants don't require a lot of sunlight to function. And they typically have very large, broad leaves. And that's because they need that very large surface area to capture enough light to help them grow. The thing about the systems that we're introducing first is the systems that we're introducing first are all fruit-bearing systems. And so these are systems that benefit from a lot of sunlight. So the systems that we're introducing first are going to be very sun-loving plants, and because they need a lot of sun to create a lot of energy to produce those fruits, which are the food that we want to consume. So a lot of the plants that are not sun-loving, they're not fruit-bearing plants because they don't receive enough energy to really bear fruit. They'll still create seeds, or they'll propagate through root division, but the plants that we want to focus on for food are almost always sun-loving plants.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let's see if we can kind of tie up this conversation about photosynthesis here in a little bit. Photosynthesis is that magic process by which plants use sunlight to convert carbon in the atmosphere into biomass that helps the plants grow, that is translated into roots and the sugars and the carbohydrates that are stored in the roots and the stems and the leaves and the fruits that we consume and are responsible for essentially life on Earth by giving us oxygen and by giving us food that we can eat, which I find is awesomely amazing. So, I really wanted to talk about this today, and I wanted to talk about magic of plants yesterday to help people really get excited about how magical this universe that we live in is, and about how magical plants are, about how they take minerals and water and nutrients and sunlight and carbon in the atmosphere and magically turns that into the food that we eat, so that you could get excited about that too and think about how wonderful it is to be able to go out into a garden, and pluck a tomato and harvest a cucumber and, get an eggplant that you can cut up and make to your meal. Next time that you do that, think about the magic of this universe and this physical reality in which we live and how that whole system works. because we want you to share the magic too. We want you to feel the magic and feel the passion that we feel when it comes towards growing that. We also wanted to demonstrate to you that, you know, at least one of us knows what the heck they're talking about.
Well, and I think it's just as important to convey that what we're doing is we're taking that information that really takes a lot of education. There's a lot of education that goes into learning how to grow food and to grow it effectively. And what we're doing is we're taking that education and we're making our system smart so that people don't have to be. Our system delivers all of the elements that the plant needs in a very efficient and optimized way so that people can grow their own food without that investment in the education. And we hope that they learn in education as they go so that they can leverage that into other areas of farming. But let's get them started. And the way I like to put it is, let's give them some training wheels so they can start riding that bike. And then as they learn more and more and more, they can become more efficient at it. And they can pursue a lot of other options in farming. But let's give them those training wheels to start with so that they know what they're doing without knowing what they're doing.
I love that. I'm going to save that line for some of our marketing materials, that our systems are smart so that people don't have to be. Because that's a really good line. I think that's the way we deliver value to other people. That's part of the value of the system, is that, you know, it's so simple and easy to use that people with no experience whatsoever and no education and no access to resources like Wikipedia, you know, can grow their own food, you know, in very, very simple steps. You know, take a seed, add a little water, add a little nutrients, pump it up twice a day, you know, and before they know it, they'll have a little extra food on their plate at dinner, which is just awesome. I think that I think that's a good place to kind of tie it up, and let's do what we love to do at the end of every one of our Zoomcasts here, which is give away one of these human-powered hydroponic systems. When you go to ascendingharvest.com and sign up for our list, your name is automatically entered into our daily prize drawing. I pull down all of the names and email addresses every single day, assign them a random number, sort them into order. Shane gives me a random number between 1 and 10,000, and voila, we have an extra winner of our human-powered hydroponic system. So, Shane, I am ready to do that. Give me a magic number here between 0 and 10,000.
Okay, I'm pushing the button to generate the random number now. Oh, here we go, 972.
972. All right, hang on, I will put that into my meeting here and we'll get it. 972 is a pretty low number. And the number that is closest to that is 142, which is, or rather 830, that's only 142 points away, and that's Jennifer Wynn. Jennifer Wynn is a lovely lady that I know and met here in Silicon Valley. She runs a company that helps people primarily from Vietnam, you know, come to the United States and go to college over here and grab an education on their English language skills and hopefully get a job. You know, here in Silicon Valley, there are, you know, hundreds of thousands of people who had the courage and had the brains, you know, to come to the United States to get jobs, typically as software engineers or some other job, you know, scientific job within the Silicon Valley community, you know, and they bring their families over and they support their families back in other countries. And Jennifer Wynn is a beautiful, beautiful person, a very nice young lady that I met. So congratulations, Jennifer. You're a winner of a human-powered hydroponic system. When we take these out of manufacturing, which we think will be in Q1 2019, about 6 or 7 months from now, we will send you a system, or we'll contribute a system to a family in need in your name. So congratulations. We'd like for you to have the opportunity to win too. So please go to ascendingharvest.com, sign up for our list so you have an opportunity to be entered into these prize drawings, and so we can make sure that you're aware of our progress as we roll out this particular project. So I think that kind of sums it up for me. Shane, you got any last comments, thoughts, words?
Thank you again, Paul, for your very thoughtful approach to helping people understand what we do and helping people understand the broader aspects of what we do and bringing some additional value that people can use and also highlighting the importance of supporting our program. So I want to echo that. Please support our program and share what we do so that we can have a larger footprint in the world and help more people. That's our primary desire, is to empower people to help themselves by giving them systems that they can produce their own food. And if that sounds like something that you can get behind, we'd love your support. So please sign up at ascendingharvest.com for our newsletter and share our crowdfunding campaign when we launch here in the middle of September. Thank you so much.
That's perfect. That's a wrap. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain, 1 p.m. Pacific. Until then, have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.